Hello everyone, welcome to the first ever episode of Christian Talk. Well, today on the show we have quite an interesting topic. We are going to explore and find out if there is actually a greater being, if there is actually God out there. Well, today in our modern society, we have different beliefs and scientists keep on coming with these amazing and so intriguing facts about how everything came to be and if there is actually a greater being out there. Well, scientists say that everything just emerged from the Big Bang Theory. Well, that's not a very solidifying evidence. Well, today on the show, I am going to simply explore that proof. Well, I am going to actually find out that there is a greater being out there and disprove science big, I could call it anomaly, where they say there is no greater being out there and everything just happened, boom, evolution and that kind of stuff. So join me today on Christian Talk. As I said earlier, there are people who believe that there is no God out there. So Elon Musk, when interviewed by some famous blogger, had this to say.
Do you believe in God?
Elon Musk's personal views on God and religion are as astounding as they are controversial. Actor Rain asked the outspoken billionaire whether he had a spiritual life when he interviewed him. In his response, Musk ended up addressing the big question of whether God exists. Check it out.
Do you have a spiritual life?
Well, it sort of depends on what spiritual means. I mean, there's certainly things that we don't understand about the universe, but I'm less convinced that there's, say, some super consciousness watching over our every movement and kind of evaluating it against some criteria and deciding whether we're going to go to one place or another when we die. I think that's unlikely.
Right.
Rain continued
Those
to
are pretty crazy facts, but that's what he believes. Well, there is more proof that there is a God out there. So I went out and found 6 proofs that there is a God out there. Some of these proofs are in this small clip that I found, and we interviewed this person for him to share with us what he has.
Socrates once stated that we should follow the argument wherever it leads. When we look at the most profound question of life, does God exist? We should certainly follow his advice. When we do, we'll find evidences that show us God is real. Let's look at 6 proofs that show God exists. Number 1, the universe must have a cause. The most fundamental law of science is the law of cause and effect. And it says that for every material effect we see, there is a cause that came before it or was simultaneous to it, and that is greater than it. The universe is a material effect. So what caused the universe? You see, if you don't believe in a creator, then you have to suggest something like a singularity. That's what is popular today, that there was some type of singularity that exploded in something called the Big Bang. But then when you try to get down to the bottom of what's a singularity, well, what we hear from the scientific community that suggests to us, the cosmologists, they say, well, a singularity was something that popped into existence from nothing. Do you know that if there ever were a time when there was nothing, that's exactly what we would have now? The idea that something popped into existence from nothing is simply not a scientific idea. You see, they're suggesting that that singularity is somehow natural, but it behaves supernaturally. They say that that singularity wouldn't have followed the laws of nature. Well then, so what are we left with? We're left with the fact that the universe had a beginning, and it was not a natural cause. It was something above nature. It was something super nature, something supernatural. And so, when we see the material effect of the universe, we can know that there was a supernatural creator that caused the universe. Proof number 2. Design demands a designer. It is a truism that everybody recognizes that this universe looks designed. In fact, when we see the various different aspects of nature, and we see birds and squirrels and trees, and we see all of the things that they do so well, many times we as humans, we try to copy and mimic that design, but often we don't do nearly as well as the design that we see in nature. We look at the design of the human body and the human hand and the arm and the leg and the brain, and we see that those are some of the most advanced, technologically savvy pieces of equipment ever put together, and we try to mimic them and copy them, and we can't do it as well. Why? Because this universe exhibits design from the starry sky at night to the fingertips on your hand. The design is overwhelming. It's everywhere. Where does design originate? Well, you and I both know is that when you see things that function and they're complex, that design comes from an intelligent designer. Big explosions just simply don't bring about order. They don't cause things that are functional and complex to come into existence. The design we see in the universe demands a supernatural, intelligent designer. Proof number 3. Life demands a supernatural life giver. You see, in the material world, we have come to understand that there is a law of biology called the law of biogenesis. Law of biogenesis simply says this, that in this material, natural world, life comes from previously existing life of its own kind. Now, when we look at how people used to think about life, they said, no, life can arise spontaneously from non-living chemicals. And yet every single biological experiment has shown us that that simply is biologically impossible. Life doesn't arise from non-living chemicals. From where did life arise? Where did life originate if it doesn't arise from non-living chemicals? You see, the idea that there's no God suggests to us that there had to be some singularity without a cause that exploded, and that explosion brought about design, which we've never ever seen happen, and then ultimately somewhere the non-living chemicals gave rise to life, but that's biologically impossible. Life demands a supernatural creator. Proof number 4. Moral law demands a moral law giver. If some things are objectively morally right and other things are objectively morally wrong, then there must be a God. You see, if we evolved from primordial slime over multiplied millions of years, at what point did objective moral values arise? We don't look at a dog and say that that dog objectively, morally violated some rule when he steals a bone from another dog. We don't say, hey, he violated a objective moral value. We just don't say that. But we do say that humans can perpetrate things that are objectively morally wrong, that humans can be involved in things that are morally right. If that's true, there must be a God. Proof number 5, free will exists. The atheistic idea that there is no God is founded on the idea of materialism, the idea that this material world is all that there is, all that there was, and all that there ever will be. Because of that, atheism has to suggest that you as a person don't really have free will, that there is no being inside of your body or brain that is super matter, that really what's going on in your brain is just electrons bouncing around and you're the product of those bounces, and you don't really make decisions on your own. It's just the physical laws and properties going on in your brain. If you are watching this video of your own volition, then the fact of the matter is there has to be a God that can account for that free will that you as a person have. There has to be a God if there is free will. And proof number 6, human reasoning. You see, we reason on a regular basis. We understand abstract ideas. If we were products of blind, chance, random processes over multiplied millions of years, reasoning and the laws of reasoning simply would have no explanation. And yet we reason together on a regular basis. From where does reason arise? It's got no naturalistic, atheistic explanation. Antony Flew, the atheist who wrote Theology and Falsification, the most popular atheistic paper for the last 100 years, the last century. In 2006, he co-wrote a book titled There Is a God: How the World's Most Notorious Atheist Became a Believer. He stated that his rule of life had always been to follow the evidence where it leads. And he said he followed that evidence. And it led him to the conclusion that there is a supernatural, intelligent God. Let's let the evidence lead us to that same conclusion.
Not only that, I went a little further and went ahead in the local community and found a biologist actually, who even told me more intriguing facts that there is a greater being out there.
So, in today's world, science is the government. So people believe. The science project is true. Now, a lot of people ask, is there scientific evidence of what exists? Because science itself does not support that there's a God to the evolution of life. But when you do extensive reading, you tend to discover that science in itself cannot actually disprove the existence of God, or rather cannot say that God exists. Again, there's also no concrete evidence, scientific evidence of God's existence. The only way that science can test God's existence is by using the laws of nature. Because the laws of nature are based on proving or involving origin. Now, according to science, biology, the laws of evolution, we have the Big Bang, we have evolution. The Big Bang says that the universe originated from an explosion, the Big Bang. The Earth took millions of years to put down, and afterwards, everything on Earth was so perfect such that life could begin. Then life first began from a single cell up to so, as Christians, we can set that standard. Who is telling us that it is right? But for us to know, it is by human nature. As I said, science itself cannot prove that God can be God, but the works of God can identify by faith. And now we're going to discuss the three laws of nature. The first one being the law of biogenesis. Law of biogenesis states to say all living things must come from pre-existing entities. So life must be passed from parents to offspring. A non-living thing cannot possibly give life from the evolution gives a different perspective. Rather, it says life began in the sea. How it began? Not pretty sure. But just that life began in the sea and from the cell was born, divided. But that makes sense. Where did the life in that cell come from? But go to creation. God himself is a self-existing being. We cannot understand God using our own information on earth, but God exists in a higher plane, so which means the things that govern him are higher as well.
As we are about to come to a wrap of the show, with all these amazing and concrete facts, I can 100% say that God's existence has been proved with 100% proof, and no one can disbelieve that fact. So this was me on Christian Talk. Join us again while we catch an interesting topic only on Entertainment TV ZM. From Newton and the other crew members, it's bye.